You're welcome once again to our second week in this 4-week journey. This is our third class in Microsoft Excel. My name still remains Benga, and just before we continue, in case you've not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and then you can be up to date to my videos, and then anytime I release any other video. And then today's objectives, we're grouping them into two. The first one is cell referencing and data management. We're talking about absolute versus relative referencing. We're talking about sorting, filtering, and data validation, formulas as well, the if function, the count if function, the sum if function, and then we'll be looking at nested functions. We have quite a lot to do today, but we'll try and work with our time. Right. My screen is showing the file we'll be using today. And the first thing we'll be talking about is relative versus absolute referencing. Okay. Now, on this sheet, I have the cell Z2. Let me make it bold and then make it bigger. So in this cell Z, that's Z2, I have 72.5. Now I want to make a calculation. Let me call this colon projection. And then let me change the color to say a blue. So that's our projection. Now, what is the projection? I want my projection to be the profit times this amount. I'm just assuming it. So what I want is the projection to be this profit, which is O3 multiplied by 72.5. Okay, so let's do that. As we all know, for you to start a formula in Microsoft Excel, you press equals to sign, then you click on the first cell in that column that you want to use. So I want to use the first cell under the profit column. So I click on it. You can see the formula bar equals to, now because I'm using a table and that column is named profit, that's why we have equals to at profit. Then to multiply, you use star. That's a star. And on my keyboard, it is Shift and 8. So I have profit star, and then I click on 72.5, and which is Z2. And then I press enter. Okay, that means for my U3, the answer is correct. But for my U4, the answer is not correct. I have 0. Whereas for my profit column, I have other, the cells are populated. So why is it 0 here? It's because Excel is wondering, why is it that the profit times this cell, that one is correct, but the next one, Excel is expecting another figure underneath this. And because it is nothing there, it takes it as 0, and then it multiplies your profit by 0, and that's why you have 0. But this is for example, this is the KPI. This is my projection. This is what I want to achieve. So it is fixed. I'm not changing that figure. I know that in the next 10 years, I must be able to multiply my profit by this specific figure, which is 72.5. I'm not changing it. So that is an absolute reference. So how can I make this formula work for this column so that it will be multiplying Z2 specifically with the column profits? So what do? I come back to the formula, and then just before my Z, I put the $sign, and then after my 2, I put my $sign. With this, Microsoft Excel understands that I am not changing that figure. It is constant. Then I press enter, and then my formula works out. It is different from, say, I want to insert another column, and then I'm calling this one projection 2. And then I say it equals to profit star, say, sale price, and then enter. So if you look at this formula, it is referencing the first part of the profit column, and then the first part of the sales column. So that first cell multiplied by the first cell is what you have for the relative referencing. By the time you move to the second part, it is second cell in the profit column multiplied by the second cell in the sales price column. But for absolute referencing, it just uses that column profit multiplied specifically by this figure. Why? Because I had used, the dollar sign to make it absolute referencing. Right. We want to talk about absolute versus relative referencing. Now, if I want to do my normal multiplication, like I know that, okay, I want to multiply colon O by colon P. For example, I say is equals to colon O. I have to click on the first cell in colon O. I click on it. Then I type star on my keyboard. And then I click on colon P. If you can see the formula bar, it's showing it equals to at profit star at colon 4. And I press enter. It gives me that calculation, which is fine, which is a normal relative referencing. If you check the colon, it is just multiplying the profit colon by the colon 4 colon, which is normal relative referencing. Now, whereas if I have a projection saying my profits multiplied by, let me say 12.5, that is what I want to achieve in the next 10 years. And this 12.5 is fixed. I'm not changing it. For example, let's say this profit is, let me change it to salary so that we can relate more with it. Let's say this is salary, and I want to increase the salary I want to increase the salary of every staff in my organization by 12.5 because, maybe we won a jackpot or something. I want to increase the salary of everybody in my organization by 12.5. So I'm not multiplying it by any column. It is just by 12.5. So what will I do? I click is equals to, I click on the first cell in the colon O, then I do star. That star means multiplication. And then I click on the cell that contains the fixed figure I want to multiply with. So if I click on AB, so it is colon AB2, cell AB2. Now, because it is an absolute reference, that means I'm not going to change that figure in cell AB2. I have to lock the AB2 so that whatever I have in colon salary, it has to be multiplied by that specific cell AB2. How do I do that? I just put a dollar sign in front of the AB, and then I put a dollar sign in front of the 2, which makes it fixed. Then I press enter on my keyboard. What has that done? It means that everybody's salary is being multiplied by 12.5. Whereas the initially an example I gave, I'm multiplying the salary by column 4. Let's say this column 4 is performance metrics. And then this is salary. So this is increase in salary 1. So for me to get this increase in salary 1, what I need to do is to multiply my salary by the colon performance metrics. That means the increase in salary is not fixed, it's not constant for everybody. That means if somebody has performed more, the person will get more salary increase. But for the salary, for the second example I gave, the increase in salary, I am multiplying everybody's salary by a fixed figure, which is 12.5. And that is cell AB2. And that gives us the same increase across board. Everybody's salary being multiplied by 12.5. Right, the next thing I want to do now is sorting. How do you sort your data? For example, you want to see the salary from the list to the highest, or from the highest to the least, or you want to sort it. If it's not figures, if it's not numeric, you want to set it alphabetically, either from A to Z or from Z to A. So that's what we are going to look at now. Now, for example, I want to sort the increase in salary 1 colon, which is colon V. What will I do? I come towards my right hand side, top right hand side. I can see sort and filter. I can see that icon that looks like a funnel. If I click on the drop down arrow, I can see sort A to Z. I can see sort A to Z to A, and then I can see custom sorts. So if I click on sort A to Z, because it is a numeric field, it is seeing it as sorting it from the highest to the lowest. If I come back and click sort, and I click sort Z to A, it reverses that sorting. So that means if I click sort A to Z, that's from the list to the highest. And if you can look at it, the list here is minus $10 million. Negative is always lower than positive. So that's, you can see that it's going to the highest, and then you get to 0, and then you get to $1,200 and the likes and the likes. Whereas if you come back and click on sort and you click Z to A, it is sorting from positive $64 million up to the negative. And the same thing, if you go to a field that is not numeric, if you click on sort A to Z, it sorts it from A to Z. If you click from Z to A, it sorts it the other way around from Z to A. Okay, and we can also do custom sorts. That means you want to customize the way you want your data sorted. So if I click on custom sorts, you can sort by, let me say I want to sort by, new country, and then I'm sorting on the cell values, and then I'm sorting Z to A. Then I want to add another level. I want to sort by increase in salary 1, and then I want to sort from smallest to largest. Okay, let me use unit sold so that we can see it on the screen at the same time. So I'm using unit sold and I'm using smallest to largest. So the first one is to sort the new country Z to A, and then to sort the unit sold smallest to largest. If I click OK, we can see that it's sorting it, the new country S, and then moving to M, and then moving to G, and then to, until you get to the letter A, which you can see it. So the last we have is letter C. And then we mentioned that I should sort units sold as well, from the smallest to the highest. We can see that 214 is less than 259, then 432, then 494, and then 888 until you get to the largest number. Right, the next one I want to talk about is filtering. I want to filter my data so that only a subset of my data is being displayed. And how do you start? If you want to filter, the same sort and filter, the same icon, come and click on the sort and filter. Here, I'm already applying the filter. So I can, if I click on the filter again, it takes away the filter icon. And if I want to sort again, I come back, click on sort and filter, then click on the filter icon. And then we can see the drop down arrow on each column. So that drop down arrow allows you to filter by, anything you want. Now, for example, I'm here in column G, and I want to filter to see only the high performing or high discount values. Remember what I did? I just came to this icon, this drop down arrow. I just click on it, and then it shows me all that I have. So if you select all, you see everything. If you click on the select all again, it unselects all. And then you can click on I. If you click on I, it displays only items or fields or the rows that has only I in the discount band. And every other one is removed. So if I click OK, you can see that everything you can see is now only I. If I say, okay, I'm good with the high, what are the, medium discount products? If I click on medium, I can see, oh, okay, these are the products, or these are the fields, or these are the staff, these are, you can just see all of them there. And which ones don't even have discount at all? The blanks. Let me see the blanks. Okay, there's no blank. What of the none? Then I can see the none. And you'll see that everything in that column now will become what you have filtered it by. And you can filter by more than one column. That means I can filter by discount band, and then I can filter by products. That means I want to see the products called Montana that has no discount bound. So I'll just click on Montana and then click OK. So I can see Montana and I can see none. So you can do for more than one column. So you can filter by the name country, you can filter by product, by discount, unit sold, just filter by whatever you want. Right, this is the second sheet we have in our workbook. And joining date, I cannot see the values in there because, I need to just expand the cell. So if I double click on it, now I can see. Now I can see name, department, salary, bonus, joining date, full time. Okay. So let's say I delete this full time colon, the values inside the full time. And then I want to ensure that anybody entering data in this particular sheet, it puts only yes or no. So you cannot come and then put, I am not sure. No, you must pick from my option. If it is not there, if you are putting whatever is have not, put as an option, then it will display an error. So that's data validation. Data validation. And how do you do that? Come to your data tab. I'm sure you must have installed that in your Microsoft Excel application. Then you can see data validation just to the right hand side of your screen. And you click on this drop down arrow. And then you can click data validation. Now, if I click on data validation, I can see the settings. If I click on any value, I can choose, for example, you can decide that it must be whole number or it must be decimal. That means if I'm saying this salary field must be in decimal number and it must be two decimal numbers, I can, customize it like that so that if you enter maybe your name in the salary field, it will not accept and then it will prompt an error. Then you can choose from a list if you want. You can make it a date. You can make it a time. You can ensure that the length of the text is, for example, 10 characters, depending on you or what works for you, and you can customize it to whatever it is that you want. Okay, so if I choose a list and then I have to choose a source. For example, if I come here and I choose, if I just type yes and I type no, and I come back here to data validation, and then I choose a list, and then the source, I just highlight yes and no. And then you have the settings, you have the input message, you have the error alerts. You can customize it and say choose yes or no. And then you click OK. Oh, I didn't start from there. Okay, let me Control Z. And then let me start again. So I come to data validation, and then settings. I want a list, and then the source is yes and no. Error alerts, choose either yes or no. And then I click OK. So that means you can see the drop down arrow now. I can only choose yes or no. And then, of course, I can extend it. So that means if I come to the next one and I type we and I press enter, you can see the error, choose either yes or no. So you can retry. So you have to choose either yes or no. You cannot input your own. You have to choose from my list. And this is very important for data validation so that your data is clean. It minimizes, the stress of data cleaning. When someone will just, I'm not just bothered, just put anything in the field. But if you have created rules, then they cannot just put anything. They must choose from your list. And they cannot proceed if they don't choose from it. Okay, for example, I want to create another column, which is total salary. And the formula I want to use, I'll make it bigger so that you can see. So the formula I want to use is equals to, I want to add the salary to the bonus. So it's equals to C2 plus D2. If I press enter, it gives me the total salary. Right. If you look at the formula is equals to C2 plus D2. If I go back to my sheet one, because this sheet one is already a table, if I come to column U and I'm in cell U3, if I press is equals to projected profit, we can see that the formula is equals to at projected profit. Why is it at projected profit and it is not T3? The only reason is because I have converted this data into a table. So once you convert it into a table, Excel sees it as a table and it can interact more with it. So how do we convert to a table? You highlight your data, that's the entire data. If it is, if it's more than this, you just highlight it and highlight the entire data and then press Control T. If you press Control T, Excel brings a dialog box and says, where is the data for your table? If you had not highlighted the data, you can still highlight it at this stage. And then you have the option, my table has headers. Of course, you know what the headers are. The headers are the title, the title of those columns. Each individual columns, you have a title for them, a name for those columns. So that's the header. So if you click yes, it's my table has headers, and then you click OK. Excel converts it to a table. So this is a table. And of course, you can format the table. If you come to table design, you can choose the way you want the table to look like. If you don't like the default option, you can just change it to whatever you want, you know. So let's say I decided to choose this. And let me delete the cell G2. Let me now do the formula again. If I click on cell G2 and I press is equals to C2, it has changed it to at salary. Why? Because I have converted it to a table. So it is now at salary plus at bonus. And then I press enter. And then automatically it puts this formula it allows it to affect the entire column in that table. Right. So I want to move on to the next section, and that is logical and conditional functions. Now, let's assume with this data I have on my screen, I want to say if the person is an IT staff, then say yes. Otherwise, say no. If this staff if he works in IT department, say yes. Otherwise, say no. So I'm going to name the column works in IT question mark. Okay. Then remember any formula you start with equals to sign. So equals to if I can say if it has opened the bracket. Now the first function you find there is logical test. So what I'm saying that if column B2, which is the department, if department is equals to, and remember that if it is not numeric, you have to put it in quotation mark. Then quotation mark IT, comma, that's if the department is IT. If the department is IT, what do you want Excel to do? It should type yes. Otherwise, no. I will explain that again. If you can look at the formula again, okay, let me copy the formula and then paste it here. Now look at the formula. Is equals to if the department row is equals to IT, then print out yes. That means in that cell, type yes. Otherwise, type no. That's just, what I want the computer to do. And remember, I am in this cell. Okay, let me put it back in this. I'll do that again. I'll delete it. So I come back to G2 and I type equals to if condition. You can double click on the if icon and then you can find logical test. That's the first thing. So what am I testing? Excel is asking you, what am I testing? So I click on the first cell in column B. Then is equals to, that's if the department is equals to, remember I said if you are testing a value that is not numeric, you must put it in quotation mark. So you put it in quotation mark. What do I have there? I want to test if the person is IT. Then close the quotation mark. Then put a comma. It has moved to the next function, which is value if true. So if it is true, what should I do? Just type in good guys. Then put comma. And then value if false, open quotation mark, need training, and then close it. Or you may decide to use just any other thing, yes or no. And then you press enter on your keyboard. So anybody that works in IT department gets a yes. Anyone that does not work in IT gets a no. And remember our filtering, you can now filter out and say, let me see those guys who work in IT. Just choose yes, then you click OK. And then you can see the IT guys. You can select everything and then you click OK.